introduce you now to a younger member of our community, Pedro Reyes. Pedro has grown up in Morristown, was very much a part of the educational system here, distinguished himself as a debater, and went off to international debate. His debate coach is here tonight, Suzanne Terry, and we're glad to see her. He's now a student at the University of Alabama, and he is studying law. And he wants to share something, or is willing to share, I should say, something about growing up here and concerns about how not only things are changing, but how to hold on to some of the good things that are so important to us. Pedro.
I have a PowerPoint presentation that goes along with it, but I just want to quickly say, I'm really grateful for Sherry putting this together this evening. I came to a Democratic meeting about a month ago, and I said we need to be having sessions as a community, coming together, having the hard discussions of what's going on locally, statewide, nationally, because it's affecting people. I'm waking up every day. My entire life is news nowadays, and it's politics. As Sherry mentioned, I attended the University of Alabama. At Alabama, I triple majored in political science, criminal justice, and communications, with the lifelong dream to go into public office one day, politics, be president of the United States someday, hopefully. But when I was getting together my presentation, I talk about immigration is a topic that I'll be going over. When I was getting together my presentation, I was using stock images on Google of protests happening across the country. And I stopped myself and realized that Morristown has lived through an immigration rate. For those of you that know, that back in 2018, at the time we had the largest immigration rate that had happened in over a decade, happened in Hamilton County. It affected a lot of people. And in the years since, a lot of information has come to light, whether that should have happened or not. But to give a little context into the presentation, if we're able to get it up, the pictures that I used throughout the slide are pictures from Morristown. They're pictures from those protests. And I'm going to try to get through this presentation without getting emotional, but I want you guys to understand that this conversation, it's really close to home, obviously. My mom, she struggled for years and years and years, lawyer after lawyer, to be able to get her permanent residence. And finally last year she was able to get it. So it's something that I know firsthand how difficult it can be. My brother is a DACA recipient, so I have to worry about what's going to happen every single day, not just to individuals that look exactly like me, but to my own family. And something that I've shared with some of the people that have organized this is, before this, I'm a U.S. citizen. I've never had to worry about getting deported or being at risk of being deported. And about 2 months ago, I started carrying around my little citizenship packet. I have it in my bag right now. It has my passport, my social security, my ID, to be able to prove that I'm a citizen in case they question it. And that's not me trying to instill fear into what the reality of what's happening in this country right now every single day. And the one thing that I will mention, as someone who grew up in this community, I'm deeply, deeply disappointed by the amount of leaders that have remained silent or are spineless, the way I like to say it. And a lot of these people were there in 2018. They attended the community sessions. They showed up to St. Patrick's Church, where it was a sanctuary space at the time. County commissioners, city council, the mayors, they were there, they were helping, they were not asking for IDs, they were not saying all this anti-immigrant rhetoric that they say on social media. And it's so disappointing to see it because they're spreading false information daily. And when I was growing up, I was always outspoken, but I was always told, go get your education and then come back and you can have an opinion. That's exactly what I've done. So now I'm coming back and I'm having my opinion. So I grew up in the area, went to Hillcrest Elementary, Meadowview Middle School, and graduated from Morristown West High School. Go Trojans. I did speech and debate for 6 years. 4 of those years were in high school. 2 of those years were in college at the University of Alabama. I attended the University of Alabama with a triple major in political science, criminal justice, and communications. During my time at Alabama, I started the Hispanic Latino Association. It grew from being 7 members to, by the time I graduated, it was over 800 members, and it's grown since then. Sadly, since Trump has been elected, the funding for the organization has been cut, so they've had to switch over to rely on private donations from alumni. May of 2023, we were able to host the first Hispanic graduation ever at the University of Alabama. While at Alabama, I also started something called the Sammy Safe Box. It helped sexual assault survivors be able to move forward after with our local organization in Tuscaloosa. In 3 years, we raised over $60,000 for survivors. So it's been really good stuff that I was able to do, and I also worked with the local congresswoman there. And last November, I had the privilege of working with the Kamala Harris campaign. I worked for them for about a month and a half. So we were on the ground, busy all the time. It was, I will forever say it was an honor of a lifetime. So these are 2 of Trump's quotes on anti-immigrant rhetoric. I'll let them be up there for a second, but I just want to emphasize that since 2015, when he started running for president, he's never, ever liked people that don't look like him. And often, the argument that's made is there was a lot of individuals, especially minority communities, that voted for him this past election. That's true. When you look at the stats, it did happen. But I often think that the mindset around that was, they're not going to come after him. He's claiming that they're going to go and report the worst of the worst people who have committed horrific crimes. And let me be clear, no one's against that. If you murdered someone or you committed a horrific crime, we can all get behind, you should probably not be in this country if you're here illegally. Also, to that point, everyone still deserves the right to due process. It's not happening. I want to talk about the impact to the economy that immigrants make, because oftentimes what we hear on the news is they're not paying taxes, they're stealing our jobs. In 2023, American undocumented immigrants paid $96.7 billion in federal taxes. Undocumented immigrants would contribute $40.2 billion more if they had legal working status to be in this country. In 2023, undocumented immigrant households held $299 billion in spending power. They go out and buy stuff. If you own a business, as a proper business, you should be open to all people. And I can tell you, especially in Morristown, our Hispanic community is a large portion of this community. And it's very important. And they have children. And those children like to do activities. They go out and eat at local businesses. They contribute to our economy. Undocumented immigrants in Tennessee paid an estimated $950 in in-state and federal taxes in 2023. They hold $8.2 billion in spending power just in the state alone. And this graphic right here The Hamilton County population, the Hispanic population is 22% of the overall Hamilton County population. Of our businesses, 17.7% are owned by Hispanic or Latino individuals here in Hamilton County. That's a large percent. And for a lot of people who spill this anti-immigrant rhetoric on social media, they're still going out and enjoying these businesses. They're going to a lot of these Hispanically owned restaurants. They're going to a lot of these shops. They're ordering stuff from these places. But they're saying that somehow the immigrant community is not contributing to the local economy. It's not true. The impact on our children, 36.1% of over 10,000 students in Hamilton County are Hispanic, and 72% of those 36 have either one or two undocumented parents. With the, this graphic right here shows the overall 36.1% of students in Hamilton County are Hispanic, which is a large portion. And to go back to the 2018 rate, and I include this in the next graphic. In 2018 rate, I remember being in high school. I was sitting in Ms. Terry's classroom, and phones started going off. No one knew exactly what was happening. I remember my brother texting me and telling me, "Have you heard from Mom?" That's all that I read was, "Have you heard from Mom?" And I said, "No." And I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "An immigration raid happened." We didn't know it was at a specific location. All I needed to read was an immigration raid, and I thought they've gone into every single work location in the area. My mom's gone. Thankfully that day, I was one of the lucky ones. So I had a lot of friends who lost a parent or lost both of their parents. And to my number one point up here, the 2018 raid had a lifelong impact on hundreds of kids in Morristown. That's true. I had friends who didn't go to college because they lost half of their household income. I have friends who didn't finish school. I have friends who are traumatized lifelong. There's been individuals who have committed suicide in the years since that immigration raid because of the effects that it had. They watched their families change drastically after that day. Sensitive areas, the Trump administration has rolled back over a decade policy. In sensitive areas are usually considered churches, schools, where Homeland Security has respected and not gone into these places. This has changed. Trump administration has said it is okay to go into those places. Now let me be clear. A school has not been a primary target so far, but it doesn't mean it won't happen. I find it very hard to believe that there would be a judge that would sign an order to raid a school, so I don't want to stand up in front of you and instill fear into something that may not happen, but the groundwork's there. And I've included the quote from the director of schools on his intention if that were to happen. He has said that they will follow the law and that he will be on the ground. Him and I have had a conversation, and I understand saying you must follow the law if immigration was to show up to the schools, but I want to clarify that when Trump was running in November, he promised everyone that he would only target the worst of the worst, and no one in this room can convince me that that's in our elementary schools, middle schools, or high schools. The Tennessee bill HB 0793, it thankfully has died on the floor for this legislative session. It can come back next year. This bill would allow school districts to bar undocumented students from attending school, but also would allow school districts to charge students for attending school, which, when you think of the contributions that the Hispanic community has in Morristown, especially the children, You can't go into any of our schools, any of our sports teams, at any of our schools and not see a brown child. They're friends with your children, they're your neighbors, they're the people that you go to church with. And I've included, the U.S. Constitution grants every child in this country, regardless of immigration status, the right to an education. That's not going to change, but that's the intention of this bill from the Tennessee Legislative House, is to take it up to the Supreme Court. What I've said from November since he won, Trump's intention is to try to overturn as many of these things as possible, and he expects the Supreme Court to say that they will be overturned. Now, Ms. Terry and I probably chat once a week about what's going on in politics, or she'll text me and be like, tell me this is going to be okay. Our federal judges are protecting us right now. Biden appointed more federal judges than any other U.S. sitting president in a 4-year term. And yes.
What is your opinion on the arrest of the judge in Wisconsin?
So, for those of you who don't know about the judge in Wisconsin, she was recently arrested by the FBI. They claim that she aided a undocumented person in being able to escape arrest. The Wisconsin Supreme Court did take away her license yesterday. I don't know all the facts, but what I will say is when we're going after judges, I think we're in a dangerous place as a country. Again, this judge has the right to due process, and hopefully at the end of the day, everything is restored. But even if she did do what they're accusing her of, they're using her as a pawn because they're posting it on social media. But it's a issue that both parties need to run on year after year after year. It's not, I don't think it's going to get fixed in the next 10 years. I think there'll be maybe legislation to allow more people to become, have legal status in some sort of way. The DACA program helped out 800,000 people. My brother was one of them. Yes. Yeah, so yeah, if you want legal status, you can buy a truck car for $5 million.
What about the golf balls?
Rhetoric around immigration, crime, immigrants, including undocumented immigrants, are less likely to commit crimes than U.S. born citizens. That is a real stat. And what's sad about the crime conversation when it comes to undocumented immigrants is Trump, other Republican politicians focus on two really, really sad, horrific stories where citizens were brutally murdered by individuals who were undocumented. Again, that's not okay. No one's ever going to defend those actions. I don't think there's a single person in this room that would defend those actions. We can agree on that. But we're painting the immigrant community with a brush stroke of saying every single one of them are violent, they're criminals, they have a criminal record. It's not true. And
he started that back in his first term.
yeah, and
This is my question. Why is the majority of the Hispanic and Latino and Puerto Rico communities vote for this bastard?
they didn't believe that he would deport them. They fully believed what he said. We're going to deport the worst of the worst of the worst. And to your point, it's included in here somewhere, but they're sending people back to either their countries or to El Salvador who don't have criminal records. They've sent 252 people to El Salvador. CBS was able to find that 90% of them did not have a U.S. criminal record. They're not releasing the names, and the reason they're not releasing the names is because they don't want us to know who they're sending or who they're picking up, because they know they're doing unlawfully. There's so many stories of people that are being detained that have done nothing wrong, people that are going to their immigration appointments to try to get a visa. They're going through the correct process. They're showing up to an immigration office because they have an appointment to get a green card, and they're being detained in that moment, and sent back to their country. And Trump and his administration is coming out and saying we're deporting the worst of the worst. And there's this Maryland father that I'm sure all of you guys have heard of. The conversation and rhetoric that Republicans have switched to using is that he was a member of MS-13. Whether that's true or not, what I would like to point out, and all of you guys can do your research here, the person who claimed that he was a member of MS-13 that did the paperwork was actually fired later on because he had record of providing false information in other reports. That doesn't mean he's not a member of MS-13, but he hasn't had the process to come back to this country and have a fair trial to prove that he is. And then now they're using this report that there was a restraining order against him from his wife. Again, he could be a bad dude, but he deserves the right to have a trial for us to determine that. And if he's not a guy we want in this country, then yes, he gets deported back to his country, but that's not what's happening. And the Trump administration does have the power to bring him back. They're not doing it because they know that they would cave, and the one thing him and his administration do not want to do is see.
So I have to touch on an experience of mine. I spent time, and I got to go to Europe, and I got to go to Auschwitz-Birkenau. But what really touched me about going to Auschwitz-Birkenau was being in Berlin, Germany, at the Holocaust Memorial, where on the ground you will find a plaque that says, "Where you begin burning books, you start burning people." And if you remember during the first administration, burning books and banning books was the subject matter of the day. That was what we were focused on for about 4 months, especially towards the end. And so, it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. It is not a chicken, okay? It's not.
I included this graphic because, again, the notion that they're taking jobs. This farmer in Louisiana posted that they needed workers because a lot of their workers had quit or were in fear of showing up. If any of you guys would show up to work for 9 and 10 hours a day for $11 an hour, 7 days a week, there's a job posting right there. But that's the hard job that a lot of undocumented immigrants are doing. They're going out there, they're working on the fields to be able to have fresh produce at your grocery stores that we're all shopping for. I would not do that job. That's a hard job. Especially with
the minimum wage in this state.
Especially with the heat that's been going through Tennessee lately, that's a hard job.
Can I ask, is the ice raid you're talking about the one at the Southeastern Provision?
Yes.
Okay, talking about criminals, the criminal was the owner of Southeast Provision, and he had been paying less federal minimum wage is still $7.35. This is what made me think about it. $7.35, and he had employees who were not receiving $7.35 an hour. And not only that, he never paid into FICA for any of them, not the undocumented and not the documented. He committed so many crimes, and so many people were injured, as you've just been speaking about, and long-term injury because of children, of all of the children that were affected and didn't come to schools, including in Ranger County and Hamlin County and other counties as well. He did go to jail only for not paying the IRS what he owed them. And he only went to jail for 18 months. And none of the workers were criminals, not a single one of them.
And to her point about the owner, there's a group of those workers won a lawsuit in 2023, I believe. And again, a lot of information has come to light in the years since. That immigration rate should have never happened. A lot of those federal agents used those opportunities to make fun of what was going on. They went on to win an award, and Thank God justice was on the side of those workers, and they won millions and millions of dollars in a settlement in 2023. So for anyone that likes to say, well, they were working here illegally, the immigration raid should have never happened. To begin with, it was an illegal act. It should have never happened. Yes.
I'm a huge LGBTQ plus advocate, and when they started all of this trying to blame, child molestation and so forth on them, I went down a rabbit hole of research, and believe me, I found out that the vast majority of the crime in the United States is performed by white men, but yet they constantly try to blame it on the minority, on the LGBTQ. It is absolutely not true. Period.
They're trying to instill fear. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make people scared. They want people to be scared. Sessions like this should not be happening. They don't want sessions like this to happen. And the fact that it's crucial for stuff like this to be happening nowadays shows how much of a threat it is of what's going on in DC and across the country, and no one is stopping him, and no one is going to stop him. He's not here to bring prices down. He's not here to make people's lives better. This is a revenge sport because he's mad at the world that they were behind him to prevail this 2020 lie that he won that election. And now, the way he's targeting immigrants, there are multiple cases of U.S. citizens or people with legal status to be here who have been detained. And not with citizens, but with people with legal status as far as work visas, work permits, student visas. It's happened at the University of Alabama. There was a student that was taken about a month ago, and they're trying to fight for him right now. And the reason they're doing this is because a lot of these individuals are speaking out. They've been vocal on social media, and he's trying to instill fear into anyone else that says, you speak out against me, my administration is going to come and get us. That's just the reality. So a little bit of what's going on the national and local deportations. The one question I've been asking from the beginning is, who are we deporting? They're not releasing names. They're releasing a couple mug shots and then some stock images on the official White House website of people getting loaded up into planes and taken to other countries. Why are we not receiving names? Why are we not receiving the list of the crimes that are being committed? Because if you're deporting rapists and people who murdered other individuals, I think we can all get behind it as long as they have a fair trial and right to due process, but that's not what's happening. And the reason it's not what's happening is because they realize they are detaining innocent people who are hardworking individuals who have contributed to this country in great numbers, who have established families here, and they're detaining them just based on their legal status. That's it. And oftentimes the argument that gets brought up is, well, they did come into this country legally. I understand that, but if the legal system, the immigration system actually worked, it wouldn't take a 10, 15-year wait list for it to happen, or thousands of dollars to be able to hire an attorney and make it happen. My mom tried for 15 years. It was really hard, and rough ballpark estimate, she paid a little over $20,000 to be able to get her legal stuff. Some people do not have $20,000 to be able to spend. That's a lot of, as I realize how some individuals look at me, how they assume I don't feel comfortable speaking my native language because they're automatically going to assume that I'm not a citizen, and even if I say I'm a citizen, they're going to question it. I've never been questioned, and the most heartbreaking thing for me is it's people in this very town, leaders in this very town, that are some of the loudest people spilling that hatred on their own social medias. And again, I guess they have the right to say whatever they want to say on their own Facebook page, but I grew up being friends with the children, going to their house, seeing them at town halls because they were on the city council, looking up to them in some sort of way, and now that I'm grown up, realize bluntly, these individuals are racist and they want nothing to do with any individual that looks like me. The White House taunts that nearly 140,000 people have been deported since Trump took office. The reality of it is a lot of those individuals have been released or have not been deported out of the country and are being held in detention centers. Until when, we don't know. And to talk about, for a moment, about the 252 individuals that have been sent to El Salvador, their families are probably never going to see them again. You go there, that's a life sentence. Trump's not going to do anything to get them out. The El Salvador president's not going to do anything to get them out. And today, it was all over the headlines. Now, privately and secretly, the president of El Salvador is questioning whether any of these individuals were actually MS-13 members. And the fact that he's starting the question and it's being reported just shows that we don't know who we sent to this foreign country, and realistically, we don't even know if we can get them back.
I remember seeing on TV when they would hold the men's heads down where you couldn't see their faces.
That's how some people's families found out. That's how their family member had been detained, because they posted it on the White House website or the video was being shown on TV. There's multiple stories of individuals finding out exactly that way. You know how sad that is for people to find out your father or your husband has been taken and is being deported to another country that's not his home country. And you may never see him again alive, and you're not allowed to call this prison. There's no recreational time. It's a hellhole where they're being sent to. And the individuals that are being sent there, we don't know who they are, and we don't even know if they have criminal records.
In addition, I was wanting to talk about Trump's first term when he was separating families, and they assured them, we know where these children are. They didn't know where any of them were, and they still hadn't found a lot of,
I don't know the updated number, but when Biden took office, there was about 750 something kids that were still displaced. The government did not know where their parents were at all. Had no track of where their parents were. And I hope, God, I hope 5 years later that all of those kids have been reunited, but that's not a reality. You guys can go on the news. There's a 4-year-old who was recently deported to Guatemala, fighting cancer, was deported. U.S. citizen, but the parent was deported without any of their medication. There's a 1-year-old whose mother was deported recently. That 1-year-old has been placed into foster care. It's starting to happen, and it's going to affect a lot of people. And so much of tonight, and what I was telling Sherry is, right now is the time we build community. All these issues affect us in some type of way. We have to be able to aid our fellow neighbor. We have to be able to speak up, and I know it's terrifying and it's scary, but if they come for every other demographic of individuals, trust me, there will be a day that they come for you. And you're going to have no one else to be by your side to protect you. And as numbers were stronger together, people are starting to wake up every single day. They're starting to realize, okay, I got to get out of bed, and instead of moping and realizing all the horrible things that Trump is doing, I got to find a community. I got to find a way for my voice to be heard. I got to start posting. I have to start telling my neighbors that I'm here for them, that I hear them, that I will do everything in my power to aid them. God forbid something horrible happens. What can we do? We can organize. This is us organizing. It's us listening to different opinions, different perspectives of what's going on. It's important. Organize what we do in a situation if immigration aid happens. Again, in Morristown, if you have a neighbor who you believe or think is undocumented, letting them know, hey, I'm here for you. I'll do everything I can, and letting them know that you're a safe space. It's important to realize that undocumented immigrants, legal immigrants, individuals of other minorities that don't look like you contribute to local economy, national economy, hardworking people. We can support. You support by going to a lot of these businesses. You also support by trying to see how you can help with local organizations. There's a really great organization here in town called Ola Lakeway. They've been working for the immigrant community for, I want to say, over a decade. And they've done really great work. They were vital in the 2018 raid. And they're always looking for volunteers. They're always looking for donations. They have an amazing food pantry that helps out the community. They have weekly, almost nightly events, and it's catered to both English and Spanish speakers. So it's a welcoming center for all. We can educate ourselves on what's actually going on, how the process is supposed to work. If an immigration raid happens, they need an actual federal warrant, a local warrant from a judge to be able to enter the home. They're doing it illegally in a lot of ways. They're tearing down these houses. They're not following the rules. They're detaining people, not giving them the right to see a federal judge. And he's doing this because he's claiming the Alien Enemies Act allows his administration to bypass that. Today, I believe a judge in Texas said that it was unlawful to a specific group, which is a group of Venezuelan undocumented immigrants that he was trying to deport. So again, our federal judges are holding line. They're preventing realistically the potential downfall, but cracks will start to appear as time goes on. We're only 102 days in, so we have 4 years left if we can survive it.
Maybe we could not remain silent when people talk about poisoning the blood
Correct.
or burning and just like or making jokes about Hispanics. I think we could maybe say something.
We can speak up. We can tell them that it's not correct. We can tell them that they're being racist, because it's a reality. And yeah, I don't care.
Take a page from
I mean,
your
I just
reality.
say-
I was trying to find the perfect words to say it more respectfully, but
Let one of us say it mean.
yeah. Your local politicians have let you down. I will say it bluntly because I don't live here full time.
This is a safe space.
Yes, they're making false promises. They're telling you that your life's getting better. Why are we building a brand new big prison? No one can, it's millions of dollars and it's gotten more expensive each time. You can't convince me that we needed a prison that big. We should be investing millions of those dollars into our Hamilton County Department of Education. We should be giving teachers a raise. You have
Stupid, you'll keep voting Republican, won't you?
You have a community center built on farthest west end of town that you have to pay for, that your tax dollars paid for, and you cannot, and I don't think anyone in this room is blaming Democrats, but there are plenty of people, I'm sure that you're friends with on Facebook, people in this community that say that Democrats have caused this problem. We haven't had a Democrat in local office in a long time. We have nothing to do with it. It's all Republicans. They're failing you, and they're going to continue to fail you. And it's not going to get any better. And if it's happening on a local level, Trump's about to destroy us on a federal level. We have to be willing to stand up, be vocal, fight in appropriate ways that prevents us from ending up in prison, because they're not arresting us yet for protesting, but it's going to happen. It's on its way. I can promise you that, because he's realizing that his numbers are going down. He's realizing people are waking up, and people that were on the line and still voted for him are saying, my grocery prices are higher. Every single time that I'm going to the store, gas is costing more, items are costing more. It's not going to come down. Whatever he is trying to spill into this notion that we just need to have a little more time and it'll be okay, it's not going to happen. And we can protect. And that goes with, protecting one another, standing up for one another, showing that it's important that we have a community, that we have a strong local Democratic Party. I'm seeing it grow every single day with all these protests. They're getting bigger and bigger. It makes my heart really happy when I see it on social media. So if you can get there, I encourage you to get there, support it, and we can build community. That's exactly what we're doing. I will make the commitment today that I will forever fight for every single one of you, every single one of your freedoms. I expect the same in return. We gotta fight for each other. We gotta be willing to put our life on the line realistically and say, hey, I'm your neighbor, and it's more important now than ever to be fighting for this country. I'm a firm believer that this is the greatest country in the world. No one's gonna change my mind on that. I'm a proud American to my core, but we have a lot of growing to do as a country. We have a lot of things that we gotta fix. We can make life better for a lot of people. We have the possibility, the resources to do it.
I just want to say that this also relates back to the ICE rate, that the church communities really stood up.
Yes.
And it wasn't the John Paul II mission in Rutledge really stood up, and of course St. Patrick's here in Morristown. But it was not just the Catholic churches, it was the other churches as well.
They were there.
They were there as well, and they helped a lot of the children kind of navigate, and they helped the parents navigate. And I also think with all these other things that are going on, the same thing is happening. Local libraries are stepping up. The NAACP locally has always struggled here, the Hamlin County NAACP. They are really stepping up, and they need to get together with y'all.
People need to get engaged. The reality of it is we have the numbers to win an election
Yes.
locally. We do. There's a lot of unregistered voters. There's a lot of people who just don't vote. And to your point of everyone being there in 2018, I stood next to a councilman, I won't say his name, and we had a good conversation, and I remember him telling me, I vote differently on this issue, but it's affecting my community, and I know that what God would do was he would be here and he would be helping all of these people. And he joined me in the room later on to play with the little kids. And now that same councilman posts really anti-immigrant rhetoric all the time. And the one thing I've said constantly is the hypocrisy of so many of these individuals and being caught out on, we were there in 2018, what's happened all these years later. They've changed as individuals. A lot of these individuals have changed, where they were always this person, and now their true colors are coming out. And this is an image of right after 2018 raid of a march that was happening downtown. I just wanted to include it because I think it's a really powerful image of our Hispanic community coming together, keep our families together. And there's my information if anyone wants to send an email or contact me. That's my work phone number, so I will get back to you as soon as possible. But I wanted to include this where we build. Since November, I've been saying that where we build, and a lot of people always question why. And I said this in a Facebook post recently, where we build community matters, who we build community with matters. What we build that community on, the foundation matters. What's going to be our principles, our morals, what are we going to stand for, who are we going to fight for. We've always been an inclusive party. We have issues that defeated us this past election that we need to fix and come together on before the midterms in the next election, hopefully in 2028. But we've always been a party that's willing to adapt. We've always been fighters. That's us at our core. It's what we have to do. We have to start looking for strong candidates for the midterms and the next election. We got to start telling people to register to vote. We got to start talking to our neighbors about how crucial these issues are, because they are important. We're all worried. We're all scared. We don't know what's going to happen. It's affecting our veterans, our immigrants. It's affecting women. It's affecting our kids. Our kids are growing up seeing this person act the way he does on TV every single day. And when I was a child, I was always told, if you were a criminal, a convicted felon, you would not go on to do something with your life. We have a convicted felon as president of the United States. So, any adult that told me, I had to follow the yellow brick road, I've kind of tossed it out now because he's gone against all of that. So, my mindset since November, and it's changed a little bit recently, to a point that was made earlier, having the conversations with individuals on the other side, I agree with that to an extent. Yes, we should be open to having conversations with Republicans. There's a lot of great, moderate Republicans, old-style conservatives. And there's also a lot of crazy people that voted for him that are crazy. Full-on crazy. And they're racist, and they want nothing to do with me. They want no conversation. And respectfully, I'm not having a conversation with someone that I know would love for me to get deported or to have never been granted my citizenship. So you can only be respectful to a certain extent.
I just wanted to say that I feel like the best way to protect the community is if you see someone getting like a bunch of random people in masks and hats covering their faces saying like, "Oh, we're police." Like, why are we letting this happen? Like, why aren't we like stopping these people?
Film it. If you're a bystander, film it. It has allowed a lot of people to get out. It's allowed people to be able to file lawsuits. God forbid an immigration raid happens here, but if you're there, film it. Take as much video as you can. Take pictures of everyone. Expose these individuals to the world, because most of the time, especially right now since Trump took office, a lot of these raids are happening illegally. They're not following the correct protocol. Film it. That's how you can help.
Pedro, you're familiar with Citizen, the app?
No.
Now, everybody in here has a cell phone, correct? I don't care if you have to come to me to help you put it on your phone. There's an app called Citizen. It alerts you when something's happening within a radius of your location. And when you record on that app, you can record direct to Citizen. So, again, when we live in a world where our rhetoric is controlled by social media, not natural media that we're used to, that's the way that they've controlled a certain sect of the population into doing certain things. We see it on Facebook, we see it on any type of social media that we get on. Put it on an app that is beyond reproach. Put it on a medium with which they cannot argue. Have that with you at all times to know what's going on. And then, if it's something that happens near you, do something about it. Be the change that you want to see. My thing over here, I say it all the time, you've heard me say it all the time before, I like to say that I'm afraid to die until I've scored some victory for humanity. Do that. Be that every day. This is the time to do it. It wasn't 7 months ago. It wasn't a year ago. It was in 2014, to be quite honest. But here we are now, 11 years later. Do it. It's not too late.
The mask should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Our police don't wear masks, do they?
No.
They're upholding the law.
They're there to serve the
People are
people.
not upholding the law. And they're frightened for people to know
That's
the law.
I worked,
Yes,
the polls, the election, and have for like 15 years, and several people in here do. I can tell you in the last 10 years, I've seen 3 Hispanic people come to vote. Why don't they vote? How do we, Sherry and I, we worked our fingers to the bone trying to get Hispanics to register to vote.
Why do you think that they don't want their name on paper? Look at what's happening.
Yeah.
That's not, I'm not talking about now, I'm talking about 10 years ago.
It doesn't matter. 10 years ago, we had a president saying this.
Respectfully, we're not getting candidates to engage them enough or excite them. That's happening on a local, state, national level. And the candidates who we have had are not speaking directly to the Hispanic community. They're not doing events to reach out to them. They're not doing events to engage them. And a lot of these kids are engaged, but it goes back to the notion of, I think a lot of young people in this country, we don't think our vote matters or it's going to create a change. But again, we have the numbers to win an election. And we can, if we put the correct people in those positions, to be able to run these